All right, well, listen, moving on to the next question, and bearing in mind we are talking about Buriram mainly, maybe some dregs also of Sepang, pre-season pretty much. Is anybody ready to call Marc Marquez as a 2025 champion yet?
Yes.
Almost, yes.
Really? 22 races, 44 race starts.
Yeah. But he was just so much better than everyone else. I mean, he was... obviously, the thing about Pecco Bagnaia is he always struggles at first and takes a bit of time to get up to speed. But, I mean, you know, this is... Mark has chosen this year to be champion. You know, that was why he went to Gresini. He wanted to, you know, rediscover the joy of riding, understand how to ride a different bike. That all that is sorted. That there is only one checkbox. You know, he wanted to. He said he had a list of sort of check boxes that he wanted to check off, and you know, it was like be competitive for the top 5, get on the podium, win a race, and the next one is obviously win a championship. So that's what he's going to try and do this year. And I don't see anyone. I think Pecco Bagnaia is going to make it really, really hard for him. But I don't think if it's straight Pecco versus Marc wins 95 times out of 100.
I wouldn't go as far as that, Dave, but I do agree he is looking in a ridiculously strong position. Fastest on both days in this test. I think the first day was his first time as an official day test topper since July 2020. Which maybe isn't the best omen for Marc, because just a few days after that, he went and spectacularly broke his humerus in his right arm, and you know, this whole web of complication began. But yeah, not just ridiculously fast in time attack mode, but that race simulation he did on the final day was really quite something. I know it's important not to read too much into these kind of things in testing, but yeah, his lap average was, I think, a 30.3, which is pretty much competitive sprint pace.
Exactly. That to me, that's the point. You know, him over full race distance is as fast as everyone else over in a sprint race.
Yeah, but without passing anyone and without dealing with tire pressures.
But when you're on pole position, you don't have to pass anyone.
Well, yeah, if you're on pole and lead the entire race, then it's not going to be that much of an issue.
Yeah, and just for context, that was, I think, 0.6 per lap faster than the next best race simulation, which was Pedro Acosta. There is a couple of caveats to throw in, or there are a few caveats to throw in. One of them being that Alex Marquez was upset by some front tire pressure issue and electronics issue during his race simulation, which meant that he was a lot slower. Plus, Bagnaia had a nightmare first day in Thailand where nothing seemed to work. So he was playing catch up a little bit in the final day and didn't get to put together a long run, but also said he felt very confident with used tires. So you have to imagine if Bagnaia had been in the position to do a race simulation, he would have been in the mix as well. But yeah, certainly in terms of I think those three are probably the ones you're looking at maybe for the podium in the first race, just on the basis of testing so far. And then we haven't really seen, or we haven't got a chance to see what the likes of Aprilia or Honda or even Yamaha can do over full race distance. So yeah, but certainly early indications are that Marc's very well placed.
Yeah, the other thing about Acosta's, in fact, both Acosta and Binder's racing, is that their rear tyre was completely shot by the end of it. This is a problem that KTM have had. I mean, it's always a problem at Buriram, is the centre of the tyre gets used a lot because the rear just wants to spin up. You're doing a lot of very hard acceleration, and you've got this special heat, this special sort of heat resistant tyre, which has a bit less grip and tends to spin more. There were problems all last year. Now there's problems. There were big problems for KTM. KTM suffered more because I think Jack was saying last year the same. And Acosta's pace dropped from sort of, you know, mid 30s to high 31s in his race in the second half. After about 14 laps, the pace just really dropped off. So I think Acosta is faster than he looks, just based on his times. But KTM have this problem specifically at Buriram, and we don't know what it's going to be like at other tracks.
Just very briefly on Marc, while we're talking about him, I spoke to Jack Appleyard, who was fronting after the flag show. He was speaking to Davide Todozzi with quite a lot of frequency over the couple of days, and I think after Marc's race simulation, Tardozzi heavily indicated that he was nowhere near pushing at 100%, which also gives you an idea that there is still more to come. So yeah, that is another thing that might worry some of the other rivals that might think they have a chance to fight for the title this year.
Just quickly on KTM, the message from them at the end of the test was they still need to deduce their possibilities over a full race distance. Like you were hinting there, Dave, not just for tyre life, but I think full kind of competitiveness. That's something I guess they'll be running on sims and through the data these weeks and these days before the first Grand Prix, but it's going to be a complete lottery, I think, for them, whether they start, say, the full length Grand Prix in a decent way and a decent speed, but then by the end they're knackered. Or the other way around, it remains to be seen. But yeah, there's still quite a few questions that emerge from the Buriram test that, have to be answered at that race and at similar events when it comes to that sort of tropical climate. Just about Marc, I think he is the greatest motorcycle racer I've ever seen, but I think we just have to be realistic. Over 44 race starts this season, he's going to be on the ground at some point, and perhaps he only has himself to beat, because it's maybe a little bit of a shame that Alex Marquez is a double world champion in 2 categories, but maybe we needed a real star talent on a GP24 in a satellite team to be able to give those 2 a push.
How many DNFs did Marc have last year, which were due to him crashing out? And was that number higher or lower than Pecco Bagnaia's, for example?
Are we getting all Bruce Forsyth on me, Dave?
Yes, yeah.
Card right.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to say it was
for a second career.
Just wait for you to say 180.
It didn't crash that many times.
Yeah, it's a different game show, isn't it?
Yeah.
But okay, it was less than Bagnaia, wasn't it, from points scoring positions? But I mean, how many times has he been to hospital, Dave, since 2020?
Yeah, but he's not on a Honda anymore, is he?
Yeah, good point. Well, we'll see. But I think the nature of racing means we can't quite say that Marquez is world champion yet. At least I don't want to. Is that acceptable?
No, that's entirely. I don't want to say it either. And yet, I think if I had to wager my own money, then I would not be wagering it on anyone else.